Good morning. Thank you for joining us here on Pastor's Corner. We give God all the thanks for His mercy, His grace, His love, His peace that passes all understanding. Before we get started, we'd just like to thank you for liking, subscribing to our YouTube channel. Those of you that are on Facebook, we welcome you there. Please, if you have not done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us to reach more people. We are gonna, excuse me here, we're gonna be in the first book of John, chapter 4. Chapter 4, the first book of John. And two verses, we're gonna use verses 20 and 21. It reads, if a man say, I love God, if a man says that he loves God, and he hateth his brother, then he is a liar. He is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen? This is a rhetorical question that we'll go over. Then verse 21, and this commandment have we from him, that he who loveth God love his brother also. Now I'm going to mix two things here, and you may already put it together. The last two previous Sundays we've been talking about seeing and talking about how the eyes can deceive us and how we can take what we see in the physical realm and make that take precedent over what we can't see. But this is going to flip it on us because it reverses it. It throws it back another way. And it says, how can somebody love God who they have not seen, but yet hate their brother who they have seen? How does that work? How does the math work? It doesn't. It's a rhetorical question. In other words, we see one another, and if we cannot love the people that we see in the physical realm, how can we say that we love God? Because they go together. And the reason I'm pulling this scripture is that the way we treat people in the physical realm is actually a reflection on our relationship with the Lord. And that's why it says, how can we say one thing but our life says another? Because if we love God, it should be shown in the way we carry ourselves, the way we love people in the physical realm. I'm constantly saying this, our vertical relationship, our horizontal relationship. I tend to observe in this way in life. Of course, people that we know and we see is one thing, people we know and we communicate, have a relationship with all the time. Of course, we have insight on them. But observing people in general, if I could say strangers, people we don't know. And I just like to observe when I'm out in public and watch. And even in that setting where you don't know all the background of an individual, you can pick up if somebody's kind and someone's not kind. You can pick up, not everything you can pick up, but you could pick up, you could sense that a person's not kind, or you can sense that a person is kind. And I like to watch this, and going off of this scripture, I believe if we have a relationship with the Lord, if we do, and we are connected to Him, there should be a level of kindness, a level of compassion, a level of consideration for other people. Just this past week, for some reason, just the way it happened, going into the service station, convenient market, I had two different men, as I was exiting, hold the door for me. And I know that sounds very small, but as I watched this transpire, because I believe that it reflects something on us. You're coming out the door and somebody's a few steps away and you could just let it go or just shut it. Or you could hold the door and let them exit. And there was one time that this past week, as a gentleman was holding the door, I was going to give him the chance to go through first. And he's like, no, go ahead. And I was a stranger to him. He was a stranger to me. But I went like that to him, like in a way of giving him extra emphasis that, yeah, the way that I was trying to relate to him, that we need to be more like that. I know this is very small, but that small gesture goes big into other areas. And you could pick up quickly the lack of consideration, patience, kindness that exists around this world. And one of us, or I should say us, you, me, that if we have a relationship with the Lord and we say that we love God, that it should show in the way we treat people, and not treating people based on conditions of, do we have similar interests? Do we view things the same way? Do we line up our beliefs in the same positions? We should love people regardless of those things. Now, I do know there's some evilness, or a lot of evilness in this world. There's some warped thinking, and I understand that. And I'm not saying to embrace that or condone those evil actions. I'm just saying mankind, people interacting, showing kindness to people. Why? Because we love God. Not as a form that we're trying to get God to love us more, because His love is complete, but because it's in our DNA, because we have His DNA. It's in us. I was putting fuel in another story here that I want to kind of tie in. And this gentleman, I want to say about 50 years old, and he looked like he's having a tough life. He had one of those old conversion vans from the 80s, and it was a little ways away. And he walks up to me as I'm putting fuel, and I looked at him, and he says, can you put some gas in my van? He didn't ask me for money, he just said, can you put gas in my van? And I know this is a little odd way of approaching, and I was a little set back, that because that's not usually a question that you get asked. Sometimes people will ask you for money to put gas in. I've had that happen numerous times, but not to say, can you put some gas in? I just said, pull your van up, I said to him. So he pulled his van around, and I was putting fuel in my tank, and I moved it over, started putting fuel in his tank. And then a young man appeared, about 20 years old, looked like it was his son. And you could tell they were trying to accomplish something, like they were trying to get somewhere. You could tell that they didn't have much means of money or other things. But I just thought to myself, I can do this. Now, do I know the backstory of what their life is, what they might be doing, what they might be trying to accomplish? I don't. But here's how I view it. I don't know what someone may be going through like that, like a stranger, but if I can make a difference, I could bless their life. If I can touch their life in some way, I I think about that. Wherever I am, at a restaurant, uh, interacting, inter, interacting with individuals that I'm again talking about people that I just come across that I don't know who they are. They don't know who I am. But can my life can my life bless? I'm gonna give you another one. I have a lot of stories, uh, but there was a young man and he was a little down. He didn't know who I was, and he asked me if I could pray for him. He goes, "Can you pray for me?" Didn't know who I was, but he asked me if I could pray for him. I didn't have anything that would identify me as a pastor or clergy or anything. He was desperate. He asked me if I could pray for him. I said, yes, I could pray for you. So I started praying for him. And I said a prayer. And when I finished, he looked at me and he says, was that real? And I said, yes, that was real. He said, I've never heard anything like that in my life. He says, I've never heard a prayer like that in my whole life. And he was just so taken aback, not only that I prayed for him, but the depth I went into in my prayer for him. And he took it so much that he says, can you pray again for me? Now we're looking at twice, and I prayed for him again. And I'm looking when I'm doing this, praying for him, and this is my thinking. This could make all the difference in the world to his life. Maybe it doesn't, but maybe it does. Either way, if I love God and I can't take those few minutes to pray for him, what does that say about me? And I look at this all throughout life, that I can't be all things. In other words, I can't fix everybody. I can't uh, take care of millions of people. It's physically impossible. But what I can do to the best of my ability is do my best to be a blessing to people, and at the minimum, not to be a, a stumbling block, a liability or hurt to somebody. That to the best of my ability, I say the best of my ability. Now, there's some people I understand that you can never get them to see the benefits you bring, because what some people do is they see that if you don't do what they tell you to do, then you're so-called a bad person, that if they can't control you, which is a whole different thing we've covered in the past, which is manipulation. It's actually a form of witchcraft. And what do I mean by that? That you can bless someone's life, but some people, what they would say is they need to tell you what to do and you need to listen to what they say to do. And I'm not talking your boss or your parents or your uh, somebody that has a leadership position over us, but just people feel like you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to side with me on all my thinking, and if you don't, you're evil, you're bad, all those things, which is a different thing. That's manipulation. I saw this meme recently. It said, shout out to those kind people that are kind without an agenda. In other words, people just kind without having uh, ulterior motives. Because some people use kindness as a facade, as a bait and switch thing, which is That's something else. But I know I'm using the word kind, but here in the scriptures, how can we say we love God and who we can't see? But we can't love our brother who we can see. And how we do that. And I'm going to say it this way. I've met many people. I know I've given the number thousands and thousands of people. I've met many pastors, people at all different levels of ministry, and I've had the opportunity to go to Africa and be around there and speak at numerous different churches and interact, which also gave me a chance to put my ministry in a different area and put it through the fire, if you will. But someone could be gifted, they could be talented, they can have a high IQ, uh, they can be very entertaining, they could have humor, all those things. But how do they treat people? And that speaks volumes to all of us, I believe. That if there's a man that is a great speaker and has a high intellect and he's gifted, but he doesn't show any love, he doesn't love people, he doesn't show love to people, to me, that says more about that man than his so-called gifts do. In other words, he could be a great speaker, but be mean as a snake. And that mean as a snake is what's gonna is the memory that you're gonna hold on to. That's what you're gonna know. Now sometimes we don't get that close to somebody, so we don't always see that. But you could pick up. It doesn't take long to pick up on somebody if uh, they could be gifted, talented, all those things. But you could tell if they have some bowels of compassion, uh, that they have some kindness, or they're mean, they're full of envy, full of jealousy, uh, bitter, jaded, angry, uh, vindictive, all those other things. You could just pick it up. You don't have to have a great level of discernment to be able to tell. I think of animals, dogs and cats, how they can pick things up on people. That it's not a make believe thing. That it's like a dog could be good with everybody in the room, and all of a sudden one person that just starts going backwards, starts growling or barking. And I know there's some dogs that bark at everyone. I get it, but it's like, okay, it's like they're picking something up, or they'll pick up if their dog's close to someone and someone comes in around that doesn't like the person close to the dog. They can they pick it up. They sense something. Like the dog will sense something. Uh, Cats, they'll sense something. But us as people, we can sense something. We can sense this is a angry person, or this is a person that you say it this way. You don't want to get on their wrong side. That you think of it in those ways. And there's a guard that may go up. We put our guard up. We put our defenses up. And sometimes that's because we have been hurt or something has happened, so we watch ourselves. And sometimes there is some we're doing it because we pick something up, but maybe we're doing it because of something that happened in the past. I'm not saying to do it. I'm not saying not to do. I'm just saying sometimes there's a reason. Sometimes we do it because of somebody else, and now we're putting it on a new person. But that we can pick up a kindness, uh, uh, easiness, that, and if I could say it this way, a love, a person love. So getting back to, let's say, a man of God, how much love does that man, that, or let's say woman, how much love do they portray? Not fake, but true. That kindness. I'll take it to children. How does an individual treat children? Because it says a lot. It says a lot about an individual on the way they treat children. And I say it this way, I tell people this. The way you treat a 5-year-old, 6-year-old, 7-year-old, 8-year-old, these children, you're actually treating an adult. You just don't know it. Because they will turn into an adult, and that adult's going to remember when they were 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, the way we treated them. It'll be there. That adult brain will mature there. But even before it does, a child, they can sense, they could pick up. And I think you could look back to your childhood and could remember the way certain adults treated you in a good way and the way certain adults treated you not in a good way. I'm sure you could remember. And you could look and say, it says a lot about that person to your life decades later. You could look back. And for myself, I think about the people, the adults that were around my life and how I thought about it as a child and how I can reflect back. And now I even appreciate it more. The way an adult treated me with love and kindness when I was a child, I appreciate it even more being an adult now. And thinking, I think of my paternal grandmother, and I can still remember, she'd be, sweetie, sweetie. She was really always super kind to everybody. She was always kind to everyone. She was kind to strangers. She always showed that, but I didn't know all the background and stories of her life. I just knew her in her older age and me bringing her grandson, but I would watch her treat strangers with kindness and love. And through the years, my dad would share different stories of rough things that my grandmother went through that I was unaware of when I was a young man or even a boy. And she left a lot of writings before my dad passed. He was adamant that he wanted me to have her writings. And I know why, because he really wants me to drill down on her writings that she wrote and left. She's been passed since 1987 is when she passed away. But I look back and I could see and remember the way she would treat people. She was actually legendary around where she lived for her kindness. The way she showed love to people without me knowing the hard things that she went through. Now I know a little bit more. I don't know it all, but she went through some hard times. Of course, she lived through the Depression, and they, coming out of that and the different things that they went through. I say they, my grandmother, grandfather, my dad, his siblings, different people. But the ability to show love, the ability to reflect love, and that to me says more about us and our relationship with God than what's up here. What do I mean up here? Yes, we can memorize scriptures, what's a good thing. We could quote scripture, which is a good thing. We could say great prayers, which is a good thing. But what are we doing with this? Because that says the world about us. That speaks more about us than me speaking right here and how I can string words and thoughts together, be it good or not good. However, what I mean is that, am I talented or not talented? More important than that is, am I a man of love? Can I show love? Can I reflect love? And that's something that everybody can judge for themselves. Judge is probably not the right word because I don't want us to be judgmental, but how we can grade it, monitor, or put some type of level, because we do at one way or another, and you think about someone, and that you think about someone, like I brought up my grandmother. Uh, who do you think of? You think of someone that says that person shows love. They show kindness, and you know you have people in your life that you could think of as like, yeah, that person, they have kindness, they have a love, and that love and kindness will reflect that you know that they want good for you, that they root for you, that they push for you, that that they they want good things to happen for you. That's that's that you can think of those people like that. And I'm saying that hopefully we're that person to somebody. That we're that person that somebody thinks when they think of, and that person has love, that person has kindness, that person reflects God. They reflect Him. Because that says more than all this other stuff that people put out in public. What is our love? That's the biggest part of what should be coming out of us. Yes, there's other fruits that we should be having in our life, but if we don't have that one, we're missing everything else anyways. And I I guess I'm on a soapbox here. That what I mean is it's like I'm preaching, but I'm just encouraging us, me, you, us, all of us, to be people of love. Because how can we say that we love God who we haven't seen, but yet we can't love people that we do see? And now it's not about a competition with one another, because what's going on here in our hearts, and God can see it. He can measure it. He can put our love through the fire. And I encourage you to think that God is there watching us, and we not out of fear, or unhealthy fear, I should say, but let's be people of love and understand that it's flipped here. The people we do see. How can we say we love God who we haven't seen, but we can't love people who we can see, that we don't have bowels of compassion and kindness and selflessness, that we are able to put ourselves to the side and not have to be first and the most and the highest and the center of attention, and praised and patted on the back and lifted up, and all those things that we can walk in a room and say, it's not about me. It's about Him. And then let me bring some light. Let me bring some light, and let me bring some love into this room. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us. If you'd like to bless us financially, there's some ways on there that you can support us. It all goes right back into this ministry, that we can do more. There's so much to do. There's so many people out there, so much needs that I don't want to get into right now, but I do dream of blessing more and a bigger area than just what we're doing now. We will be back here in person, 1363 South Vineyard in Mesa, Arizona, 85210, 12 o'clock noon Arizona time. Thank you again for joining us. Have a blessed, beautiful Sunday.